To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we now come to debate on clauses 1 and 2. The question is, are clauses 1 and 2 stand part?
Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Mary-Ann Street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I rise to speak on these two initial clauses on this legislation. One, we have just amended with the approval of the Minister's amendment so that the Advanced Technology Institute Act 2012 will now be called the Callaghan Innovation Act 2012. And I just want to reflect on that a moment, Mr. Chairman, because Sir Paul Callaghan, the late Sir Paul Callaghan, was a man who was an extraordinary contributor to New Zealand, and I remember listening to him at a Labour Party conference where he came and addressed us a year or two ago, and he was truly one of those very few people in the world who is charismatic. Charismatic is not a word that I apply to many people at all. It's rather overused these days because there are very few people in the world who can hold one's attention the way Sir Paul did and talk in terms that made him a superlative communicator of complex and inspiring facts and ideas about how human beings relate to science and how science relates to the development of human beings. And so it's entirely appropriate that this Advanced Technology Institute be called Callaghan Innovation. I have no problem with that at all. It is a fitting tribute to the man and his legacy. But I do have a bit of a problem, Mr. Chair, with the fact that this institute, which has a lot of promise, has been bedevilled at the outset by a shambolic process. And it is my fervent hope, and it is why the Labour Party is supporting this legislation, that Callaghan Innovation can actually realise some of the dreams that have been expressed in a few of the speeches in this establishing legislation. In other words, Mr. Chair, this idea, originally Advanced Technology Institute, now Callaghan Innovation, was announced, as I understand it, if I remember correctly, in the budget. And in fact, it was meant to have been in place by the 1st of November this year, if I remember correctly. But what we have is a bill that was introduced on the 13th of September, and at least referred to the Select Committee more correctly, on the 13th of September, with submissions closing on the 1st of October. If there was ever going to be a visionary plan about the development of New Zealand and the application of science to those wonderful primary production industries as well as our secondary manufacturing industries that could set our economy alight, this was going to be a significant part of it. But it seems to me, Mr. Chairman, that we have had nothing like a plan, and in fact the kinds of amendments that my colleague Dr. Megan Woods put forward would have improved the function and purpose of Callaghan Innovation had the government been prepared to seek a little improvement and a bit of logic and a bit of coordination applied to the sector through this bill. So I am disappointed, Mr. Chairman, that this bill has gone through a shambolic process with 2 weeks for submissions to be presented. And of course that gave rise to minimal submissions and submissions that were rushed and did not reflect, as I understand from my colleagues, because I do not sit on this committee, the full complexity and the vision and the potential of the science and innovation sector. There are issues, Mr. Chairman, around the Callaghan Innovation and the Act that we are about to pass, and its ability to realise the potential for improvement of the New Zealand economy and, in fact, some substantial future-proofing of the New Zealand economy. Mr. Chairman.
Mary Ann Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so the commencement date is now 1 February 2013. It should have been 1 November. There should have been some months for this process to have been undertaken with due respect and some seriousness around the purpose and the structure, and more importantly, the relationships between Callaghan Innovation, the education sector, various aspects of industry, and the workforce that is going to be required to implement some of the ideals of Callaghan Innovation. But what we have is a bill that is rushed, that is inadequate, that could have been improved with the amendments from other members of Parliament in this House, and most particularly Dr Megan Woods, but certainly David Clendon's and Tracy Martin's as well. But, Mr Chairman, we have now what we have because we've just voted down any other amendments apart from the Minister's. This Act comes into force on the 1st of February 2013 instead of the 1st of November 2012. That is as it is. It is my very clear hope that Callaghan Innovation can rise above a shambolic and undirected process that has surrounded this bill and can in fact do what it's meant to do in relation to other agencies we have, and those relationships will have to be tested and hammered out a wee bit because of the lack of thought and time that has gone into this bill, but that it is able to work cooperatively with Crown Research Institutes and other existing scientific and innovation organisations that can provide some kind of knitted together, some kind of directed and some kind of purposeful future for science and development in New Zealand. We have clever scientists in this country. We have clever industrialists. We have clever workers. And it is only going to be by the combination of all of those three that we are ever going to get the sort of lift in our economy that everybody in this House aspires to. A little bit more thought, a little bit more time, a bit more vision that was more detailed in its application would have assisted here. However, Mr Chair, I wish Callaghan Innovation under this Act coming into effect on 1 February 2013 every success for the benefit of New Zealand. Thank you.
I call David Clendon.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm pleased to take a